Greetings. This is Principal Kafele, and welcome to another edition of Message to a New and Aspiring Principal. Let me say from the outset, this one's a little different from the previous editions. This one is specifically for the aspiring assistant principal. You know, I tend to kind of combine the assistant principal and the principal in the same message because the assistant principal is preparing to become principal. So I kind of feel that the information for a principal should also flow down to the assistant principal. But here I'm making a distinction. I'm talking specifically about the assistant principal, and the title here today is Thoughts to Consider for the Assistant Principal Interview. Once again, thoughts to consider for the assistant principal job interview. In other words, I meet, in my travels and the work that I do as a speaker consultant, I meet a plethora of individuals that ask me for advice for an upcoming interview. They may see me when I'm speaking at their school. They may, or a conference. They may send me a Facebook message or a Twitter DM, an email. But I just get a plethora of inquiries from people who just want some advice on what it is that they should bring to the table, what they should say, what they should anticipate, what they should expect on a job interview. So I got up this morning and I thought about it. I went on and did my presentation here. I'm out in Nevada, spoke to the California League of Schools conference, which is in North Lake Tahoe, Nevada, so right at the border. So it's held here. And I said, before I kind of take it down for the day, I'm done now. I said, let me talk to the aspiring assistant principal that may have a job interview on the horizon. So I'm still in my speaking outfit, speaking clothing or attire. And I want to share this with you. Now, as I started organizing my thoughts, I said, man, I need a whole day to do a seminar on thoughts to consider for the assistant principal job interview. So I'm just going to give you a few salient points. This is not meant to be comprehensive. I just don't have the time. I mean, I have the time, but I don't know that you would spend that amount of time watching a video. It would take, in order for me to really be exhaustive and comprehensive, I need a couple hours to really talk to you about what it is that you need to know to go into that job interview and hit it out the park and land that position. Maybe if I get requests from folks, then I'll go back and do another video and I'll spend whatever the amount of time is. Maybe it won't be 2 hours, but it will be much more than what I plan to spend here. I'm going to try to keep this one short. So first and foremost, to that aspiring assistant principal, I'm talking about that one who's maybe a teacher, maybe you're a guidance, or I should say counselor, but you're not in administration. Maybe you're a teacher leader. You're not in administration, and you've made the decision now, I want to be an assistant principal. And you're striving to become this assistant principal because no way in the world, and this is the world according to Principal Kafele, no way in the world that a teacher should jump from teacher to principal. In fact, a district shouldn't even allow that, but jump from teacher to principal without having the experience and the exposure to being an assistant principal first. So when I say assistant, here's what I'm saying. Now I'm into these thoughts for consideration for the job interview. Your role as assistant principal is not to lead the school. Let me say that again. Your role as assistant principal is not to lead the school. You are there to assist the principal. That's your role. That's why you have that title, assistant. You're there to assist. You're there to learn. This is your apprenticeship toward one day becoming a principal. But you are not there to lead the school. You are not there to be number one. So you have to always be cognizant of your lane. You're walking in the assistant principal lane. So when you're on that interview and thoughts to consider for the assistant principal job interview, you've got to make sure that you convey very clearly to the interviewer that you understand your role. You understand your lane as it relates to being the assistant principal. You don't want to give the impression in that interview, because here's where a lot of folks go wrong. You don't want to give the impression in that interview that you're going to try to lead that school as the number one person. And see, when you go in there and you know, I want you to have the confidence. That's necessary. But I don't want you to go in there cocky. See? Because when you do that and you're reckless in how you're speaking, I mean, you're feeling good, you're saying all the right things, but here's the thing. It's being received by somebody, the one on the other side of that desk. And that person might be the principal. And if you're coming off in a way that you're going to go in there and lead the building, then you're out of your lane. You'll have your opportunity to lead a building one day, but that's not what this is. So I'm saying to you that as you're preparing for that interview, and then once you're in the interview, you have got to be very, very clear that you understand your role, your assignment to assist the principal in your lane. And you've got to stay in that lane. Hopefully you'll be in a situation where you'll have flexibility, you'll have latitude to do a whole host of other things, which I'm going to talk about here. But you've got to make it clear from the outset that you are not there to compete with the principal for his or her job. You are there to assist the principal. That's your role. So, you know, I meet a lot of folks and they express disappointment that they didn't get a job. They didn't get to the next round in the interviewing process. And I begin to talk to them and ask them questions. And sometimes I conclude, I said, you probably went in there acting like you were interviewing for the principalship instead of interviewing for the assistant principalship. So understand that from the outset. You are not there to apply for a principal position or to interview for a principal position. You are there to interview for the assistant principal. You are there to assist the principal. Secondly, you can't walk into that school blind. You got to know something about that school. And when I say something, I'm not minimizing that word something. You've got to know a lot about that school. In other words, this school district, they called you in for an interview. Maybe you'll know the school. Then, in other words, they'll make you aware of which school has the opening. Maybe they won't. Let's use two hypotheticals first. First one, you know the school. Okay, they tell you the school. Well, you better do your research. You better do your homework. You have got to know that school. You've got to know the achievement levels. You've got to know the issues surrounding the school. You've got to know the ins and outs of the school. You've got to have a sense of the climate and the culture of the school. You've got to have a sense of the teachers and morale in the building. You've got to know the story. You can't just walk in there and you blind and you don't know anything about the school. That says to the person interviewing you that we were not important enough for you to spend time finding out who we are. See, you want to walk into that interview and be able to provide benefits. See, not features about yourself, how great you are, how extraordinary you are. That's not what it's about. It's knowing the school and then being able to offer to them yourself relative to the benefits that you will provide. See, because you know the school. So you know something about the achievement. You know something about the discipline. You know something about the climate. You know something about the culture. You know something about the parental engagement. You know something about the community involvement. You know something about the social issues of students. And I can go on and on. And now within the interview, you're talking about how your presence will improve some of those situations while maintaining the mindset that I understand my lane. See, to assist the principal, not to compete with the principal, not to be the principal. That is not what this interview is. So with that said, there are these stereotypes about the role of the assistant principal. A lot of people, and I mean professional people as well as lay people, think the role of the assistant principal is to do what I call the big three: school disciplinarian, bus supervisor or bus duty, and cafeteria duty. The big three. So the assistant principal is reduced to an aide, a bus aide, in terms of getting kids on and off the bus, a cafeteria aide, in terms of just overseeing and supervising the cafeteria, a disciplinarian, in terms of handling all the discipline in the school. And now that this person is reduced to that. And now that's what this person does all day. That's the stereotype. That's the generalization of being an assistant principal. And now here this person spends a year, spends 2 years, spends 3 years as this person who does constant bus duty, cafeteria duty, and discipline. And now, for whatever the reason, gets a position as a principal sometime later. And all that individual knows is how to suspend students, how to discipline students, how to supervise a cafeteria, and how to supervise getting on and getting off of a bus. That person is ill-prepared and ill-equipped to lead a school. So here's what I'm saying to you. Don't you go into that interview talking about how you're going to be this dynamite disciplinarian. You can talk about it because more than likely that person interviewing you may be of that mindset as well, that they have that expectation to an extent. Excuse me. But don't go in there thinking that that's the end all, that you're going to dazzle them with the fact that you're going to devise this dynamite discipline plan, that you're going to be the cafeteria duty guru and the bus duty guru, and think that that's going to land you this job. See, let that be a portion of some of what you talk about. In fact, they may ask the question, and then you go on and talk about how you're going to have that just locked down, solid, and explain what your discipline plan will be comprised of. You explain it. Don't go in there trying to create it in your imagination while you're sitting there in an interview. You're looking up in the sky. It's blah blah blah. No, that's not going to work. Devise your plan while you're doing all that other homework on learning the school. So when you walk in there with your portfolio, you got the plan. It's in your arm. You lay it out on the table, and then you start talking about it. But don't spend your whole interview talking about the plan, because I got some other things I got to give you right now. But make sure that you are equipped with the plan. How you're going to ensure that management of the building relative to students is going to be effective at a high level, and how that's going to impact all of the classrooms in the building. That's very important. But now let's get to the meat and potatoes. See, that's not the meat and potatoes. That's just a little side stuff. See, let's get to the meat and potatoes. The bottom line to school in all capacities. I mean, you name it. The principal, the assistant principal, the teachers, the counselors, the social worker, the psychologist, the learning specialist, the custodian, the security officers, the cafeteria workers, the kitchen workers, all those, the librarian, all those different positions. The bottom line is student achievement. I missed the secretary. The secretary too. Student achievement. That's the bottom line. Yeah, I put that in the context of the custodian and security in cafeteria. Even with them, the bottom line is student achievement. So as you're preparing for your job interview as the next assistant principal at that school, you got to go in there talking about how you're going to raise student achievement levels. That's got to be the crux of your conversation. That's got to be the core of your conversation. What is it about me? What is it about my presence? What is it about me getting this position that achievement levels will rise? See, you got to have a plan. Of course, you're going to talk about, once again, how you're going to assist the principal, because more than likely, the principal has a plan, some kind of strategic plan. And you're going to word your interview in that regard as to how you're going to support that plan. But you want to make sure that you give the impression that you're coming there to assist with the student achievement. See? But how do you assist with student achievement? What does that look like? Let's jump into it. Look here, somebody. And I'm looking at my timer. I'm going longer than I really wanted to, but that's okay. I'm going to encourage you. In fact, implore you. If I go up to 20 minutes, 'cause right now I'm at 15 minutes. If it goes up to 20, 25, 30, I implore you, watch this whole video. Okay? Don't stop. You got bored. You don't want to listen to it anymore. I'm giving you nuggets. I'm giving you solution. I'm giving you strategy to get the job. Okay? So now let me keep going. Student achievement. How do we get there? What's the bridge? You know, there's this thing you're going to be doing as an assistant principal. I hope that you're not kept out of the loop. And it's called supervision. I'm sorry. It's called supervision. You're going to supervise professional educators. And if this is your first administrative position, you're probably going to supervise professional educators for the first time in your life. This is something new. But you got to be able to convey in that job interview that you're able to do that. Because the interviewer is going to tell you there are going to be various different personalities on staff. You're a teacher right now. You work in a school right now. You know that there are multiple personalities on that staff. There are different agendas on that staff. There are people who are looking at this thing through various sets of lenses. There are people in there with high optimism all the way to the opposite extreme of people with high pessimism about the achievement of the school and the achievement of students within the school. All that's there. And that interviewer is going to ask you, how do you manage that? How do you influence that? How do you supervise that? See, that's going to be asked of you. And you've got to be able to answer those questions. See, you got to think that through. Because the purpose, let me give you this definition. The purpose of supervision is the improvement of instruction. Period. All right. If somebody tells you otherwise, you tell them to see Principal Kafele. I'm talking about here supervision of educators by an administrator. The purpose of supervision is the improvement of instruction. Period. That's it. Your primary role as it relates to student achievement is to help teachers to continually improve instruction. That's what you're there for. You're not there to sign off on discipline referrals. You're not there to make sure that trays get thrown away in the cafeteria. That's not your primary responsibility. You're not there to make sure that a kid puts a seatbelt on a school bus, although that's important, but that's not your primary responsibility. They got bus aides to do that. They got cafeteria workers that can do the cafeteria thing with the trays and the garbage. Your primary role is the improvement of instruction of your staff. And that's what you got to convey in that interview. How are you going to do so? Well, let's dig a little deeper. You, young man, you, young woman, you must live in the classrooms. Let's say that again. You, young man, you, young woman, you have to live, you must live in the classrooms of the staff members that you supervise. Because if you don't live in their classrooms, you don't know what's going on in their classrooms, and you have no influence over their practices in their classrooms. So, therefore, that's taken me to this other word. You learned it in graduate school. You've got to be instructional leader number 2. That's you. See, your principal theoretically is the instructional leader of the school. That person lives in classrooms, and that person provides immediate feedback to teachers. That's the instructional leader. But then your instructional leader number 2, you are doing the same thing as the principal. You're doing the same thing. You too are an instructional leader. Because the purpose of your job as supervisor is to improve instruction. But if you're not an instructional leader, if you're not in classrooms, if you haven't established a collegial relationship under a clinical supervision model, then guess what? You're not in a position to improve achievement in your building. You're not in a position to improve instruction in your building. You're not in a position to be an instructional leader in your building. So the interviewer may say something to you to the extent of, well, discipline is a huge issue here. It's real. We've got a tremendous amount of discipline problems here. But see, that's not going to raise the achievement levels. So you establish order in the building, fine. But that doesn't translate into learning. I learned that the hard way my first year as a principal back in 1998. I found that out. I was a strong disciplinarian. In fact, I tried to be Joe Clark from the movie Lean on Me. That was my model. That was my go-to. That was my professional development, just watching that movie over and over. And I found out very quickly that did not translate into student achievement. I had to put these things I'm talking to you about right now into place. That's when achievement began to occur. So here's the thing. As the interviewer is talking to you about the discipline and how real it is, and you got in the back of your mind, but wait a minute, I just listened to Principal Kafele, and he told me I got to be an instructional leader. He told me I've got to be in the classroom. He told me that I got to institute clinical supervision. He told me that I've got to establish collegial relationships with staff. He told me that I've got to be in the classroom and provide immediate feedback to staff, and then put myself in position to get back into that classroom to follow up on the things we discussed. Because see, going to that pre-conference, that pre-observation conference, you're going to zero in, and this is interview talk now. You're going to zero in on those things that you and the teacher have determined these are areas that we need to focus upon. You're not going in there looking for everything. Sometimes administrators, particularly newer ones that just don't have the administrative wisdom yet. They're in a classroom just looking at everything, 100 different indicators in the classroom, just looking at everything. That's not how the teacher grows. As you establish a collegial relationship with staff, now you guys you know that teacher, and that teacher knows you, and you guys are going to pinpoint areas of focus. And those are the areas you'll look at. If other things kind of stand out while you're in the classroom, which were not part of the discussion, fine, you'll address that. But you're going in there looking for specificity. You're targeting specific areas for growth of that teacher. So then when you have the post-observation conference, which has got to be immediate, now you're going to talk about those areas. And talk about the gains that were made, the improvement that you saw, the changes, the adjustments, the shifts that you saw in the classroom relative to the performance of that teacher. And then you'll follow up at a later date to continue to monitor the growth, the professional growth and development of that teacher. This is what you got to talk about in that interview. You can't go in there talking about you're going to be this dynamite disciplinarian, as I told you before. You got to be able to demonstrate how you will assist the principal and be this instructional leader number 2 in that school, which ultimately will raise the achievement levels, get that school to blue ribbon status, if it's a Title I school, Title I distinguished school status, because when the school receives those accolades, that means children are achieving. Young people are soaring, and that's what it's all about. See, so with discipline, and here I am. I'm at 23 minutes now, folks. So I'm going to say it again when I was at the 15-minute mark. Don't be discouraged by the number of minutes. I'm giving you nuggets free of charge, right? All you got to do is watch the video, take notes, implement, and congratulations on landing the job. See, don't be discouraged by the time. Let me keep going. So now when discipline comes up in the interview, you got to juxtapose that with these 2 words, climate and culture. I'm going to say to you right now, assistant principal candidate, you got to be well knowledge in what school climate and school culture is all about. You got to be conversant. You got to be able to talk it. Climate, it's got multiple definitions. I've reduced it. I wrote a book a few years ago called Closing the Attitude Gap. And in that book, I define climate as simply the mood, M-O-O-D, the mood of the school, the mood of the classroom. I'm saying it's what you feel when you walk in, see. And so many youngsters and staff members walk into these schools of toxicity. The mood is toxic. The mood is overbearing. The mood is overwhelming. The mood is not conducive to a youngster, removing one's mask, letting one's guard down, in just being oneself, because they got to put on this protective gear to ward off all sorts of pressures that may come their way, particularly from other peers, peer pressure. See, you want to create a mood. You want to talk about in that interview how you, in conjunction with the principal, in conjunction with staff, will create a climate, a mood, that on day one, when students walk into the building, they feel something. They feel good. They feel emotionally safe and secure in being in that building. That's what you want to talk about. Not all that emphasis on a discipline plan, meaning if this happens, here's the consequence. If this happens, here's the next level of consequences. And if this happens, here's the next level of consequence. Man, you'll be running a little mini prison. I'm saying, let's and that's so micro. I'm saying expand your thinking to a macro thinker, right? And you're thinking about the climate, that's big picture, what kids feel, and the culture, the lifestyle, how we're living. So many definitions of culture. I just say how we're living in the building, the lifestyle of the school. How will your presence influence the culture of the building? See, that's what you got to talk about in an interview. And you're not just sitting there waiting for questions to say, okay, if they ask me that key question, maybe that I saw in the Principal Kafele video, I'll be ready to answer. No, no, no. Anticipate questions, yes. But be in position as you answer the question, now you throw something at them that they didn't ask you. See? Because you know what's expected of the assistant principal. You know what the school needs because you did your homework, or if you didn't know the school, you studied the district and got a sense of the district. And you know what's needed, so you said, okay, they're not asking me the question with the information I want to give, so as they ask me the question, let me attach it to it seamlessly, just smoothly transition to that piece of information that you want to give them. And now they say, wow, okay, this person seems to be ready, right? So climate, culture are so important in the process. Let me share a couple of other things. I'm almost at 30 minutes now. Scheduling. You know, in some schools, guidance counselors, I got to stop saying guidance, counselors, they do the scheduling. I'm old school, and that's what it used to be called, but it's not called guidance anymore. It's counselor, but I got to get that out. That word guidance, it's like, it's in me. I got to get it out of me. So the schedule, a lot of times counselors do the schedule. Sometimes the principal does the schedule, but you as assistant principal might be responsible for the master schedule. Well, you've never done one perhaps. Well, you better go in that interview with at least conveying to them that you will know how to do it. So do some research, go on Google, find out how to create a master schedule, what's entailed. A lot of them are done electronically. Sometimes on a smaller school, they're still handwritten, right? But some are computer based, and so there's some layers there. But the bottom line, you got to go in there with a mindset that the question may be asked, and then so you got to go in there with a certain knowledge base that at least shows that you have a semblance of an idea of what's required of a schedule and what a school would want. Like perhaps they may want common planning time with a certain grade levels, or with certain subject areas. They may want PLCs, professional learning communities, built into the master schedule. You got to go in there knowing that. You've got to be able to speak that language when you're on that interview. You can't go in there scratching your head on any of the questions. You've got to be able to answer all questions. I know it's very popular that people say, well, I don't know, but I'll get back to you. You competing with a lot of people for that one position. You can't afford to, I don't know, and I'll get back to you. You better thoroughly do your homework. You better know the ins and outs of this position so that not one question they ask you, you can't come up with some kind of creative answer that shows that you've got some level of understanding of what that question is asking you. All right? So you got to know something about scheduling. You got to know something about data analysis. That's crucial. You got to know. You got to know how to read data, how to analyze data, how to interpret data, how to utilize data in a school. various data streams, whether they be data relative to achievement, relative to particular strands within a subject area, um, data relative to attendance and tardiness and discipline and just the various streams of data. You've got to go in there talking like you understand what data is all about, how data moves the needle, how data impacts achievement, how data impacts teacher growth and development. See, you got to be able to speak the language. You got to go in there demonstrating your knowledge of and a command of data analysis, right? And then lastly, I told you this is not a comprehensive video. I'm already at 30 minutes and I've touched on, I keep looking over here because I got some notes listed, and I've only touched on about 10 things. There's so much more to talk about. I'm just giving you kind of a foundation. But lastly, professional development. That's crucial. You got to go in there making the interviewer, convincing the interviewer that you're a reader, that you attend conferences, that you are obsessed with your professional growth, that you are obsessed with learning more, that you're obsessed with knowing more each day. You got to go in there with that. You gotta go in there giving the interviewer the understanding that you're a reflective practitioner, that you are very serious about just studying, as I call it, studying your game film, meaning going through the self-reflection process, self-assessment process, and ultimately making the self-adjustment every day. You got to be able to convince that to the interviewer, the principal, the superintendent, the assistant superintendent, a room full of folks who are interviewing you and throwing questions at you. Demonstrate to them that you do hit the pause button of your practice every day, that you do it now in your current capacity, and that you will do it as an assistant principal, and that you will engage in ongoing self-reflection, ongoing self-assessment, and making the necessary adjustments to your practice every day, rooted in the professional development that you're providing for yourself, the reading that you're doing, the books, the journals, the articles, the blogs, the conferences, the workshops, the institutes, letting them know that this is important to you, that it's a part of your practice. These are the kinds of things, everything I've said here, these are the kinds of things that you have got to say, that you have got to articulate and express in an interview. These are some of my thoughts for consideration for the assistant principal job interview, and you got to take a lot of this. In fact, I would recommend strongly that you take all of what I've just given you and make it a part of your interview preparation. But let me say this last. Let me make this last point, and then I'm going to be done. Your appearance, it matters too. And you know, I'm an old schooler. At the time this video is being recorded, I hope it's around for a long time, but I'm 56 as of the time of recording this video. So I've been around for a little bit. I've been a principal for 14 years. I taught for 7, and I've been a national and international consultant and speaker for the past, I guess, 13, 14 years now, but as an independent, where it's my sole responsibility for the past 6 years. So I've been around for a while, and I meet a lot of people, and I've seen generations of folks come into this business, and I'm seeing with a younger generation, and I don't want to paint with too broad of a brush. My intent is not to insult people in this video; it's to help and empower people. But I see folks come into an interview and don't know how to look. Your appearance is your first impression. They're going to see you before they hear you. See. And you got to bring your A game. I don't always, I make a lot of videos. If you know anything about me, and perhaps since you're seeing this video, you know about my work. I've got over 500 videos on YouTube. I've got videos for students, videos just for the young men. I've got videos for teachers. I've got videos for the new and aspiring principals, which is this channel in particular. And I've got speeches. I got a lot of stuff, old school throwback stuff from when I was much younger. All these videos. But here's the thing. Most of the vids, I'm not wearing this. It is a rare video, and unless it's a speech, it's a rare video when I'm doing a selfie sitting in a hotel room that I'm wearing a shirt and tie. I have some, but it's not necessarily my norm. A lot of the videos I made for the new and aspiring principals, I wear the tie. but there's a reason for that. The reason is I'm modeling something. See, I make most of my videos, I'm wearing a t-shirt or a sweatshirt or, just, dressed down casual stuff. But I said, but when I'm talking to the administrator and I'm trying to be a model and an example and a lesson for some other administrator, I got to look the part. So it's rare that I'll do this channel in my t-shirts. I think I got one or two. In fact, one of the most recent ones on when I was dealing with social justice and equity and issues of that nature. I think I had on a t-shirt that represented a school. But I'm modeling for you guys. I'm saying this is it right here. I know that, you got these new school folks and they wearing polo shirts and this and that. I get it. Got the school name. That's not a problem, particularly if it's maybe once a week. But I'm saying for the most part, me, I'm an old schooler. It's shirt and tie. I didn't need the jacket for the vid, but it's right here on the back of the chair. I just took it off for the video. See, you gotta go into the interview looking the part. Put on your power outfit. See, your best one, the strong one, the one that makes you look like a warrior. See, that's the one. Make sure you groom. I'm bald, so it's easy to stay groomed. But make sure you groom, man. Your head, your hair, your face. Don't go in there. Maybe like outside of this work, maybe a part of your appearance is a political statement, right? Like, I'm gonna be me. I get that. I was that guy a long time ago. So some of us, we try to make a statement in how we look. A political statement. Well, I'm gonna tell you, and some of you might get mad at me on this one, but something, I don't care, because I'm firm in this particular conviction. You got to put that to the side when you're going for a job interview. Unless you're gonna create your own school, you're gonna open up your own school and do your thing your way on your terms. Then hey, I'm not mad at you. Do it like that. But if you're going into a school district, you're going into a charter school, you're going into a private school, whatever it is, you got to look the part. Let me say it again. You've got to look the part. You got to go in there looking professional. You got to go in there looking the way that they would expect you to look. So for me, I'm not going to tell you to shave the beard. I'm not going to say that. But for me, if I wore one, I'm not wearing it at that time. I'm going in there clean shaven, man. I'm going in there, my head gonna be right, shining, my shirt and my suit pressed, my tie looking right. That's how I'm going. See. And then if that other part is really me, I let that come in later. If I gotta wear my beard, I grow it once I get on the job and I establish myself a little bit. It's coming. Maybe I don't want to wear the tie every day. Okay, once I get there. But if I'm trying to go to the next level as principal, then that's not the time for me to retreat back to what I used to do. I got to still impress. See. Now, some of you, I know you're not going to receive that right. I know it. But that's okay. I'm not mad at you, but I don't care. I'm telling you, I made tremendous strides in this business. I couldn't do the work as an international speaker, national speaker, speaking 200 times a year. That's almost a whole year when you add the flights to get there. Self-employed, I might add. I couldn't do this if I didn't understand my appearance, my package. If I went in there looking other than, folks not trying to book me. Folks not trying to bring me in. They go to the next one. So I'm very cognizant of my appearance, which is a part of my brand. Brand meaning identity. What's your brand? What's your identity? See, it matters. So put your politics to the side and look the way that you need to look to get the job, because we need you in the job so that these babies can benefit from you. Don't let your politics, don't let your ignorance, meaning lack of understanding and knowledge, prevent you from getting the job. Do what's expected. Do your homework. Study. Be prepared to go into that place and command the position. Expect to be hired. Expect your breakthrough. Expect that person on the other side of the desk to feel that I can't move on without this person in my life, in my school, assisting me or assisting the principal. That's the attitude you got to bring. See, your attitude is important. Your attitude will determine your altitude. You go in there with an attitude that I got this. Don't go in there cocky, but go in there confident with an attitude that I got this, because you're well prepared. You study. You listen to Principal Kafele. I know something about this. So you listen to me. You watch this video. I'm at 41 minutes now. So what? You want the job? Then watch the whole video. You don't want the job? Shut me off and go watch basketball. Go watch one of them series that come on TV. You know, them little mini soap operas that come on at night. Watch one of them, right? Go outside and go swimming. You know, don't watch this because you're not hungry. You don't want this. You just playing. See? But if on the other hand, you hungry, you thirsty, you starving for the next level, then if me or someone else puts on a video and it's long, yeah, I'm at 42 minutes now. 41 and 54 seconds. Next person might put one on that's 50 minutes, 60 minutes, 2 hours, 3 hours. You serious about this? Then watch the whole video. Take notes. Have your pad. Have your pen. And jot down while you're watching so that you can refer back to your notes later. I might even add, make sure that you always have your pad and your pen. Don't rely on that phone. Don't rely on that tablet. Don't rely on that laptop for that information that may pop into your head at a moment's notice and you're not in position to start typing. Have your pad and your pen, 2 pens, in your jacket pocket always. When you're sitting in that reception area for that interview, you may need to go back to your notes one more time. You may want to review something while you're sitting there. You might be sitting there a half hour before they call you in for the interview. Have your notes and review your notes, because you watched my video and you recorded what I said, and now you're ready to walk in there and land the job. So enough said, candidate. I'm at 43 minutes. I gave you a lot, right? But I hope that this video is of benefit to you. It's not exhaustive. It's not comprehensive. You see, the 10 items, I think I added 1, so 11, that I talked about took me 43 minutes. But that's okay. And again, keep in mind, I'm not getting paid for this. It's just a little YouTube video. But it's me wanting to empower somebody else. My passion driving me to empower somebody else. I'm hoping that this video, this message gets you that job. And if it does, you better reach out to me on social media and tell me thank you. Tell me you got the job and because you listen to Principal Kafele. And I'm going to tell you the date. On April 24th, 2017, sitting in a hotel room in North Lake Tahoe, Nevada. I took some time out to give you some information. All right? So, hey, good luck to you. I wish for the best. Go in there with the mindset, the confidence, the attitude that this job is yours. And I'll see you in the winner's circle. Let me know how it goes. Peace.